Okay, so I was going to show you guys VosViewer. It is an open source application that's been developed by a guy in the Netherlands, a research team in the Netherlands, and its purpose is to visualize bibliometric data. This is a whole like subdiscipline or discipline of scientific discipline. So, but the idea is to use data about publications to understand the major fields of study within and between scientific disciplines, and then understand what the most influential publications, who the authors are, what the research institutions are. And the idea is that you can create a network between different publications. And there are these three basic types of networks that are studied. Collaboration networks, which kind of show what universities are working together, what authors are working together. Semantic networks, where you look at keywords within publications. And then publication citation networks. And this is to look at like what are the papers that authors are citing, and how does basically one paper relate to another in terms of citations. And before I forget, I just wanted to say I'll share these slides, and there are all these other tools that do similar things. It's a pretty well-developed, I guess, research field, so I'm going to just barely scratch the surface. So if you're interested, there are lots of other tools out there to dig a little deeper. So this is VosViewer. It's an application you can download for free. It requires Java to run, so you have to install that if you don't have it. And basically, you can go to Web of Science, or I think you can use a couple of Scopus. I'm not actually really familiar with what the differences are between these, but Scopus and Web of Science are two databases that you can use. Just search and find whatever subset of publications you're interested in. And you can download like a tab delimited file and then upload them into VosViewer and look at some different network visualizations. So I did that already, so I'll just show you an example. So you create map based on bibliographic data. And then you can see here, it gives you options to use Web of Science, Scopus, and I guess Dimensions and PubMed as well. You can also upload data from a reference manager. So if you have a bunch of stuff in RefWorks or any of the other reference softwares, you can export a file that will work for this as well. I tried doing that with mine, but I think I just didn't have enough publications to make it interesting. So I think you have to have a pretty good size. So I'm going to use Web of Science. And what I did is just went to Web of Science and tried a bunch of different searches that I thought would be interesting. This one I'm going to show you is everything from NC State last year in 2018. So everything that came from authors from NC State. Another thing is that with Web of Science, you can only export 500 citations at a time, and you need the full record. So you kind of have to do them piecemeal. That's why I had, I think, 9 different text files to upload. So I'm going to do co-occurrence with keywords. So this just means it has an algorithm that will use natural language processing to pick out keywords. And if they occur together in the same publication, they'll make it to this visualization. And there are some thresholds you can set. So here it's saying, I want the keywords to occur at least 5 times, but you can adjust that up and down. I'm going to use the defaults. And this just says I'm going to just use the top 1,000. Actually, I might lower that to make it a little bit more clear. So top 500 with the highest number of co-occurrences. So then it gives you a list of all the keywords it picked out and their strength, and you can clean this up a little bit, deselect ones that seem redundant. And then it gives you this visualization. So it does some clustering. The colors indicate clustering. So which keywords are most closely or most often occur together. So we've got, it kind of breaks it into domains. So this green, again, these are keywords in NC State publications. So this kind of reflects domains at NC State, the major ones. So green looks to me like maybe social science, in particular with education. So we've got gender, education, health, children. And then yellow looks a little bit more like natural sciences. So climate change. And it shows what all of the co-occurrences for that keyword, even if it's not within the same cluster. Red looks to me like maybe some of the other sciences. We've got some stuff that looks like genetics, nanoparticles, and then blue also looks like science to me. Maybe it's just a different subsections of science. So another thing you can do is you can clean up these lines a little bit. You can reduce the number of lines, so it'll just show the strongest links, just to make it a little more easier to read. But you can zoom in and out if you want to look at certain things. Like, I guess it won't show you the links if they're not in the top 500 links. Okay, so this is just one example. I'll show you another one. So I found that the meaningfulness of these really depended on you having some question in mind when you were doing your citation search. So I had a bunch that were just kind of nonsense. But this one I thought worked out pretty well. This is a search of all the UAV publications that have UAV or one of the many variants of that as a keyword in I think just last year as well. So for this one, I'll do bibliographic coupling by document. So this would be, there's a little help arrow or pop up here, so it'll just define these. So bibliographic coupling is based on the number of references that these papers share. So they're referencing the same authors. So I'm going to use the defaults. And here it says some of these are not connected. And I'm going to say, yeah, only show the ones that are connected, because it seems like the ones that aren't connected are like semantic errors where they've extracted data incorrectly. So generally, it's the right choice to just choose the connected ones. So this, just by looking at bibliographic coupling, you can kind of start to see the different domains within UAV research. So the green ones that are clustered, that reference the same papers, it gives you a little pop-up at the bottom so you can see the title, so you can get an idea of what they're about. So this one might be a little bit more on the computer science side of UAVs. The yellow, maybe something similar, more on the technology side. But then some of these other clusters should be a little more domain related. So it looks like, yeah, so the red ones, I see stuff about crop and biomass. So all of the red ones are probably like ag applications of UAV. And then maybe blue is more earth science. So you can get pretty intentional about these searches, and like I said, there's a whole kind of scientific discipline and bibliographic analysis. So yeah, you can. I think one of the major usefulness things that are useful about this is I saw recently someone used this in a presentation to show that there's a gap in the research. So they were able to visualize that. I think it was modeling isn't, I can't remember the exact example, but he was able to show that all of these different domains are well represented in the literature for this keyword, but then his was agriculture, and then he only had like a few bubbles. So like if there are missing links between domains or between authors or between keywords, it's a good way to identify gaps in our knowledge.
I missed the part where you said how you generated the files that you were selecting.
I just went to Web of Science and did a search. You can get pretty specific on what you're searching for. That's going to make me log in. Oh, I'll use you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do a search of the core collection of Web of Science and then just export the results as a tab delimited file.
So it contains
like full citation information. I think it's the abstract and then of course all of the rest of the normal.
So is it searching for the key terms both in the title and the abstract? Or?
Yeah. I think you can actually set that. So like I said, I kind of just scratched the surface with this, but in the analysis tab, you can get a little more, you can tune the way it clusters and the information it extracts. But I think you need to be pretty intentional about that to get some meaningful results. So. Yeah.
So it's just like and maybe this is the proposed way to do a literature review now. Is this
Maybe, yeah.
Could be a good starting point.
Yeah, it could be. That's kind of what I had in mind when I used my own
RefWorks file.